Hey everybody, Shrike here. Today I'm going to go over Saffiya. For those of you who've been waiting for her since the beginning, then you know you're going to pull her. This will just be a little bit more information. For those of you that are on the fence, whether or not to pull for her in the coming banner, hopefully this will help you understand her kit a bit more and make the decision a bit easier. She is a Seeker, a damage dealer, and she's a lot easier to build around than units like Akambe, who need a whole bunch of other units, a whole bunch of stars. She's very simple in the team setup, but her kit is pretty complicated. So let's start with her trait here. At 1 star. At the start of the action, she puts the Hangman's Mark on an enemy within 4 cells of her. That's right at the beginning of the action. So unlike Enforcer and Stinger, which put the Hangman's Mark at the end of their turn, this is a lot more useful. So she can benefit from the Hangman's Mark on her own turn. When attacking the enemy, it'll deal 16% more damage if they have the Hangman's Mark. That's at 1 star, and it'll go up to 32% at 5 stars, but not to exceed 150% of her own physical attack. At 2 stars, she'll get a life drain tacked onto it, and at 3 stars, that's the real break point, where you can feel free to stop starring her up if you want. That's a good place to stop, because that's when she gets 2 random enemies within 4 blocks and applies the Hangman's Mark to them. So that's pretty good. The ability she starts with is Hunting Urge. Single target attack causing 130% damage before attacking. The critical hit rate is increased by 15%. After successfully defeating the target, 3 points of energy are restored. This one seems okay, but you're not going to keep this. Her kit has so much else in it that you're not going to keep this one. Her level 1 skills are Settlement of the Hanged Man, which we've seen on a few other characters. If they're in the injured state and they have the Hangman's Mark, you'll deal 30% more damage to them. You'll deal an additional 30% damage to them, penetration damage, and then the mark will be removed. So we've seen this on other units. That's pretty good, and some people even build entire teams around the Hangman's Mark, and she'll be very good in those teams. The other one is Shadow Attack. Single target attack dealing 130% damage after attacking. You gain dodge, lasting for 1 round. This one's not as good. There are other ways in her kit to get dodge. So you really just, you want this one. You're going to want this one for her. Her level 3 skills are Shadowless Blade, which is one of her main skills. This is like her signature skill here, in my opinion. She puts it on herself. You want to put her in the middle of where you know enemies are going to attack her, and she'll put this on herself. It'll last for 1 round, and it gives her dodge. And when she dodges, it will cause 85% physical range damage to all enemies in a 3x4 area in the target direction. So if somebody attacks her, she'll do an AoE in that direction and counterattack. She'll dodge it and then counterattack and an AoE in that direction. And if they survive that, which hopefully they won't, then you'll deal Vulnerable 2 to them, lasting for 2 rounds and restoring 2 points of energy, which is pretty good. The other one is Tactical Adjustments, which is one of her most unique skills, in my opinion, but more situationally useful. It's an instant, choose any target, and change your own profession, so your role, Seeker, Destroyer, Breaker, Defender, Watcher, to the target's profession and obtain Disguise. The effect lasts until the next action. So you can change your role to be beneficial to whatever you're about to attack or whatever is about to attack you. But not only that, this could work with the talents. If you've cranked up all the talents in Defender, she could benefit from all of those bonuses in the Defender class, if she's a Defender. Things like that. And also in the Tower of Adversity, it's going to be very role dependent. Like the first one, the first Tower of Adversity, from what I understand, was destroyer units and defender units were the ones you wanted to bring. They were very focused on those. They either gained more damage or some other types of buffs. But you could change her profession to whatever the favored profession in Tower of Adversity is at that time. So that's another very good use for her. And so for her level 3 skill, I think if you don't want a Castalia, I'd say use Shadowless Blade. Just gets Shadowless Blade. But if you are willing to spend one on her, I'd say Tactical Adjustments. Just grab that one as well. Now, Shadow Blade Pursuit. If I understand this correctly, it's saying that within 3 blocks of her, if one of your allies attacks somebody with the Hangman's Mark, then you will do a supporting attack equal to 50% physical damage, and you can do that 1 time per round. So that's pretty useful. Emergency Evacuation. When actively attacked, damage taken is reduced by 8% after actively being attacked. If you are near death status, gain dodge, takes effect up to 1 time per round and lasts for 1 round. This one doesn't seem as exciting. So, Shadowblade Pursuit is an easy pick. Hoeing Order. Strange name, but this is the one that you've seen when you got to play her early in the campaign. She gets to summon a Stinger, though it's not really Stinger, but it's Stinger. And behind the target, and inherits some of her attributes and applies Hangman's Mark to the target, and physical defense down and magical defense down. Which is, even just these debuffs are super useful. You put that on a boss or just a tanky unit, and you pop a Hangman right behind him, and he's probably not going to last much longer after that. Hangman's Commander. This is an aura, and from what I can gather, this is saying that your allies now gain, if they attack somebody with the Hangman's Mark, their attacks increase by 15%. The translation's a bit wonky here, but I'm pretty sure that that's what that means. Oh, and yeah, I feel like you just get Hoeing Order if you're going to just get one. And if you feel like getting a Castalian, then you can get that one too. But I would just get Hoeing Order as the main one here for number 7. Level 9 is the basic attack enhancement. Seal Strike causes 100% physical damage to injured status applied to enemies before attacking, shuts off their passive skills. Okay. Chain Attack. Single target attack causing 80% physical damage, causing other nearest allies to gain increased speed 3, increased attack 1, lasting for 1 round. If you're forced to use a basic attack, it's probably better to boost the allies around you than to shut off their passives. A lot of people use her for bossing, and bosses are immune to any kind of control, like passives. So that's useless. If you're just gonna do the tower with her, then probably Seal Strike, I guess. But even then, this is probably more useful. I would lean more toward Chain Attack than Seal Strike. Alright, we got Breaking Army Assault as her ultimate. Breaking Army Assault Blade. Physical damage, single target attack causing 170% damage before attacking. Apply Isolated, lasts for 1 round. After causing damage, apply to the target. No aid. That's unable to perform rescue behavior. So people can't come in and take the attack for them. Lasting for 2 rounds. Okay. But this is the one I really like. Penetrating damage, single target attack causing 30% of health penetrating damage. That's piercing. After attack, apply reduced attack 2 for 2 rounds. Now this reduced attack 2 doesn't really matter much because they should die. If you're attacking her, she wants to kill things. If they survive, I guess having them deal less damage is pretty cool. But what I like about this is that it deals 30% of their health. So on a non-boss creature, it will actually deal 30% of their health. Which, if we look back at this one, after a passive attack, if the target is near death and there is a hangman's mark, then you deal an additional 30% of the target's health as penetrating damage. So that's another 30% damage. And then if we look at her trait again, then at the start of the action, you give them the hangman's mark, and then when attacking an enemy, you'll deal 16% of their health more damage. At 5 stars, that's 32. So 32 and 30 and 30, that's almost their whole life. If you manage to stack all 3 of those effects together, you could one-shot someone, which I think is pretty cool. You might have to sacrifice some better skills to line all those up, and it wouldn't work on a boss because they have resistance to percent-based attacks, but it's still a cool possibility for her. Oh, and now, as far as her weapons go, if we look here at the swords, because she's a sword user, I would say either Everburning Blade or Newborn Blade would be best on her. With all of her counterattacks and a lot of her skills hitting again either before or after, you're going to have a lot of chances to inflict Scorch. Even if you aren't bringing another Scorch character in the team with you, then she has a good enough chance with all of her attacks to put it on the enemy, and then she'll do 20% more damage to any enemies with Scorch. So she just gets better if you have other Scorch characters on the team with her, but she's fine on her own with that. And no, bring me back the sword. The other one, Newborn Blade, this one's just pretty generically good. Increases HP by 5%, physical attack equal to 3% of HP at the start of battle. It's just okay. But I would use Everburning Blade on her if you have it. Oh, and as for her trinket, you want something with instant speed that deals percent-based damage. So the Flying Blade Arm Guard, which deals piercing damage equal to 12% of the enemy's HP, can be used up 2 times, cooldown 3 turns, up to 1 turn if you get 5 stars, so that's pretty cool. Or if you don't have that, a Roaring Flint. 10% of the character's HP to all enemies within 2 tiles of the target, can be used 1 time per battle. Or up to 2 turns per battle with a 3-turn cooldown. So Armband is a bit better, but if you don't have it, then that one's fine. And if we look over here at her tarots, we want something to benefit from all of the attacks she's doing. Some of them will be off-turn, so you could use the tower. Where are we? Destruction of the tower. When it's not the character's turn, damage dealt increases by 20%. But that's only going to be useful when you put that support skill on yourself. One thing that can be really useful for her is the Wheel of Fortune, the Course of Fortune tarot, because it's not going to show me what the buffs are. You get the possibility of getting 1 out of, I think, 5 or 6 different buffs, a couple of which are really good for her. Or there's just Temptation of the Devil. She's a damage dealer. This is good on any damage dealer. She's going to be killing lots of things, so that will stack really well on her. So yeah, that's my first look at Saffiya. Would I recommend you pulling for her? Yeah, if you are free to play, if you're a spender, whatever, just try and get her. We think that Tyir is probably going to be the next banner after her, and he's a very good pick. So if you want to get them both, maybe split the difference, spend half of your pulls on her, and save the other half for Tyre. If you really like Tyre, then maybe just throw a couple at Saffiya. She's going to be a very good unit. She's going to help out practically any team she's put on, and she's pretty easy to build and work around. So she's very free to play friendly. If you're going to skip her, then I trust you have a good reason. Maybe you just don't like her style or her aesthetic or her kit, and that's fine. But meta-wise, she's going to be very good. And I would recommend pulling for her. And that's it. I'm going to fly. Remember to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.